Good morning, students. Today we are going to start the same topic which we did last time, that is from trade to territory. Now, in my last video, we discussed about how the British East India Company was formed, how it got the permission from the Queen Elizabeth to do the trade in India, and what led to the conflict between the different European companies. Now today our focus will be how East India Company slowly became from the company to a ruler. Okay, that journey of East India Company we are going to read in this chapter. Okay, East India Company, it first established its factory on the banks of the river Hooghly in the year 1651. At that time, factories were basically warehouse where goods for export were stored, and it had office where company officials sat. Now, in present time, when we talk about the factory, we mean that in factory is a manufacturing unit where things are produced, where things are made and supplied to different parts of the country. But when we are talking about the factories which was there existing in India during 1651, at that time it was just a warehouse, a storage kind of a thing where goods were exported, where goods were kept, and it was from there exported to European market. By 1696, it began fortification around its factory. Now, what company officials did, slowly and slowly, it started establishment near the factory. The artisans, the weavers, the traders, everyone who is doing business with the East India Company, they were encouraged to come and settle near the factory. Once the settlement established there, they started doing the fortification also, and the reason which they give is this for their security. That then they also started bribing the Mughal officers and got the jamindari right over three villages. Once it established itself in Bengal, it slowly it starts bribing the Mughal officers. At that time, Aurangzeb was there. So that area, when we did in our last video, I told you that Aurangzeb ruled for 50 years, but in this entire rule he was busy fighting here and there. So to manage such a vast empire, it was not possible for him to look everywhere, and the East India Company took the advantage. What they did, they bribed certain Mughal officers and got the jamindari rights over three villages. Jamindari right means they got the right of collection of revenue for those villages. One of such village was Calicut, which now we call it Kolkata, the capital of West Bengal. Royal Farman from Aurangzeb and its misuse by the company. What does the Farman mean? Farman basically means the royal order. Aurangzeb issued a farman to the East India Company which guaranteed British East India Company to do duty-free trade in India. Now see, Aurangzeb has issued the farman to the company, and the company East India Company was supposed to do the duty-free trade. But what happened that many officers in the company were doing the private business also, and they were also not paying the taxes, which led to the huge revenue loss for Bengal. Now, conflict. What were the reasons for conflict between Nawabs and the British East India Company? After the death of Aurangzeb, he died in the year 1707, Bengal Nawabs refused to grant concession, demanded large tributes for the company's right to trade, denied it any right to mint the coins, and stopped it from extending its fortification. Now, once the Aurangzeb died, the Nawab of Bengal became very powerful, and now they no more wants to they no one wants to continue the same for royal farman which Aurangzeb gave to them. They started insisting they started insisting the company to give them the tax. They started insisting the company to pay them huge tributes, and also they denied their right to mint the coins. Accusing the company of deceit, they claimed that the company was depriving the Bengal government the huge amount of revenue and undermining the authority of Nawabs. The company, on its part, declared that the unjust demands of the local officials were ruining the trade and profit margin. It also wanted to buy up more villages, expand its settlement, and rebuild its fort. Now, this is the conflict between the Bengal Nawab and the company. Now, company officials and they want to continue with their same tradition, that is not paying the taxes. And the company also wanted to extend its area by buying more villages and doing the fortification. Now that was not acceptable to the Bengal Nawab, because in this way company was not only expanding its area, but at the same time it started interfering in the political matters of Nawab. It also started doing conspiracy against the Nawab, and they were not paying the taxes also. So all these things ultimately led to the Battle of Palasi, the turning point of Indian history. The Battle of Palasi. The Battle of Palasi was one of the most important battle, and we can also say that Battle of Palasi actually led later on the establishment of the British rule in India. Now let's read about what was the Battle of Palasi. When Alwardi Khan died in 1756, Sirajud-Daulah became the Nawab of Bengal. The company was worried about his power and keen on a puppet ruler who would willingly give trade concession and other privileges. So it tried, though without success, to help one of the Sirajud-Daulah's rival become the Nawab. An infuriated Sirajuddaulah asked the company to stop meddling in the political affairs of his dominion, stop fortification, and pay the revenues. After negotiation failed, the Nawab marched with 30,000 soldiers to the English factory at Qasim Bazar, captured the company officials, locked the warehouse, disarmed all Englishmen, and blockaded the English ship. Then he marched to Kolkata to establish control over the company's fort there. Now this picture is of Robert Clive. He played very crucial role in the establishment of British rule in India. Hearing the news of the fall of Kolkata, company officials in Madras sent forces under the command of Robert Clive, reinforced by naval fleets. Prolonged negotiation with the Nawab followed. Finally, in 1757, Robert Clive led the company's army against Sirajud-Daulah at Palasi. One of the main reasons for the defeat of the Nawab was that the forces led by Mir Jafar, one of the Sirajud-Daulah commanders, never fought the battle. Clive had managed to secure his support by promising to make him Nawab after crushing the Sirajud-Daulah. The Battle of Palasi became famous because it was the first major victory the company won in India. Okay, thank you.